Hi Centenary, how you doing? Pastor Bob checking in. I'm going to be doing that for a while until they tell us it's okay to be together. I'm going to check in on you because I care about you and want to make sure you're doing okay. And I want to remind you that if there's anything ever going on, maybe you need prayer, maybe you need some help. If you need anything, you call the church office. We are getting those messages, and we will get back to you just as quickly as we are able. So I got to thinking the other day about Joseph. Now, not Mary and Joseph, the parents of Jesus, but Joseph, the son of Jacob. Do you remember the story? It's found in the book of Genesis. Joseph was one of 12 of Jacob's sons. Unfortunately for Joseph, he was also the favorite. And unfortunately for Joseph, he also knew it. And he kind of acted in a way that kind of played upon the fact that he was the favorite. Kind of bothered his brothers just a little bit, most of the time pretty intentionally. So his brothers came up with a solution to their Joseph problem. They threw him into a pit. And they waited until they found a caravan headed for Egypt. They pulled him out of the pit and they sold him to the caravan for 20 pieces of silver. Now you probably remember this story. Joseph is taken into Egypt where he's sold to Potiphar, and he becomes one of Potiphar's slaves. Through no fault of his own, he is accused of a crime he did not commit, but he ends up being found guilty and thrown into an Egyptian prison. And he's there for quite some time until, at just the right time, Pharaoh has need of Joseph. See, Pharaoh's had a couple of dreams, and starts off with 7 very, very fat cows, and all of a sudden they're eaten by 7 very, very thin and sickly cows. And Pharaoh's disturbed by this. He wants to know what it means. Well, Joseph's in the right place at the right time. He interprets the dream for Pharaoh, explains to Pharaoh they're going to have 7 very, very good years. That's going to be followed by 7 very, very bad years. And Pharaoh's got to store grain up now to be ready for those lean years. Pharaoh looks at Joseph and says, "You're in charge." In fact, Joseph becomes second in Egypt, second only to Pharaoh himself. Well, this famine, these lean 7 years, this is not just Egypt. This is throughout that entire region. And Jacob, also facing these years of famine, discovers there's grain in Egypt. So he sends his sons down to Egypt to buy food for them. Little did these boys know when they were buying that grain, they were buying it from their brother Joseph. He had changed quite a bit over the years. Well, finally, good news. Joseph reveals himself to his brothers, says, "Hey, it's me, Joseph. I'm your brother. How's my dad? How's the family's doing?" And there's joy as the family is reunited. But with time, Jacob, who's an old man, dies. And those brothers of Joseph, they're a little bit afraid of what might happen to them because of what they did to Joseph. So they came to him and they said, and this is Colin's paraphrase, you won't find these words exactly like this in your Bible. But basically they say, Joe, you remember before Dad died? We were talking to him one day and just sitting around talking, laughing, checking out the baseball scores. And Dad said, "Hey, guys, if I forget to tell Joseph, you tell him. I don't want him to be mean to you in any way, shape, or form. So Joseph, we just wanted you to know that's what Dad said. Don't be mean to us. Don't get even for the fact that we sold you into slavery." And then Joseph responds with some of the most amazing words. These words are found in the 50th chapter of Genesis, in the 20th verse. Let me turn there. Joseph says to his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." What's really fascinating about that verse is that word intended. Joseph said, "You intended it one way." That word intended at its very root means to weave. And if you've ever done any weaving, you know this is something that's done very intentional, very purposeful. So Joseph is saying to his brothers, you were very intentional. You were very purposeful in what you did, and you meant it to harm me. But God is able to take these things and reweave them, as it were. He can take what you meant for harm, and He can bring good out of it. I like that story. I think it tells us a lot about what's going to happen with this pandemic that we're in. You know, I'm pretty sure this pandemic is not meant for our good. But I think God can purposefully work it to be and do good in us. I've got to tell you, I've seen some of that good in myself. Those of you who know me well know I'm a bit of an introvert. Nothing for me could be finer than just to be in my office with a big desk full of books, just free time to read and study and just interact only with God and my books. That's a wonderful day for me. But you know what this pandemic has taught me? It's taught me how much I miss our interactions, how much I miss being with you. God has taken this pandemic and He's rewoven it, at least in my life, to show me how special you are and how much I long to be with you. God's going to do that with this pandemic in all of our lives. He is able to reweave so that that which was intended to bring us harm, ultimately God uses to do good. Church, I want you to remember that. You take care, and you know this. I am praying for you. All right, church? We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.